អរុនសួស្តីប្រិយមិត្តស្រីប្រុសសប្បុរសជនយានិជនខ្មែរទូទាំងសកលលោកថ្ងៃនេះពិតជាមានភាពសប្បាយរីករាយនិងមោទនភាពដែលបានមកកម្មវិធីសម្ពោធដាក់តាំងពិព័រណ៍វត្ថុបុរាណសិល្បៈខ្មែរ Royal Kingdom of Bronze នេះគឺជាវិទ្យាស្ថានសិល្បៈនៃទីក្រុង Minneapolis រដ្ឋ Minnesota ដោយមានកិត្តិយសដោយបាននាំយកសិល្បៈបុរាណខ្មែរយើងមកតាំងពិព័រណ៍នៅទីក្រុង Minneapolis ដោយមានសិល្បៈធំចម្បងដែលគេបានយកមកដាក់នោះគឺមានរូបព្រះនរាជផ្ទុំបណ្ដោយ6ម៉ែត្រដែលធ្វើអំពីសំរិទ្ធនេះដែលគេដាក់តាំងពិព័រណ៍ដែលគេបានយកមកតាំងពិព័រណ៍នៅទីនេះហើយមុននឹងមកដល់ទីនេះគឺត្រូវបានគេយកទៅជួសជុលនៅសារមន្ទីរគីមេប្រទេសបារាំងហើយតាំងពិព័រណ៍នៅទីនោះរយៈពេល3ខែឥឡូវបានបញ្ចប់ឥឡូវក៏បានបញ្ជូនមកតាំងពិព័រណ៍នៅទីក្រុង Minneapolis នេះម្ដងក៏មានជាជនខ្មែរពិតជាសប្បាយរីករាយហើយក៏បានមកចូលរួមGood morning នេះមានប្រសង់និងប្រសក់ដែលបានមកចូលរួមនេះជារូបសំខាន់ដែលយកមកតាំងពិព័រណ៍គឺព្រះនរាជផ្ទុំបណ្ដោយពេញគឺបរិមាណមាន6ម៉ែត្រតែដោយសារបែកបាក់ខ្លះខ្ញុំជួសជុលនេះជាផ្នែកសំខាន់នៃបរិមាណប្រិយមិត្តស្រីប្រុសដែលរស់នៅរដ្ឋមីនីសូតាអាចជើញទស្សនាដោយការតាំងពិព័រណ៍នោះមានរយៈពេលវែងគឺ3ខែនោះចាប់ពីថ្ងៃទី10 25ដល់ថ្ងៃខែតុលារហូតដល់ថ្ងៃទី18ខែមករានេះគឺជាសាលកន្លែងលក់សំបុត្រហើយនេះជាសាលចូលខាងក្នុងនៃសារមន្ទីរនេះគេដាក់តាំងរូបយ៉ាងធំនៃបដិមាព្រះនរាយណ៍ព្រះវិស្ណុនៅសារមន្ទីរធំមានច្រើនជាន់3ជាន់
ចាំចាំខាតាមសាវតាជីនខាងរាមមតែកាទឹកដីខ្មែរធំទូលំទូលាយសំសាយរុងរឿងចេញសំសាយក្រុមទិទាំងឡាយចុំបោពីសាសនាសិល្បៈចំឡាំងពីចិនគុំនិនសង្សារដំត្រីទស្សនាវិជ្ជាព្រះពុទ្ធសាសនាជាកូនខាងផ្នែកស្រីទៅ បញ្ចាំងប្រាំថាគួយខ្មែរកើតតាំងចិនឲ្យមកចិនខំប្រឹងវិញសាមគ្គីជាតិយើងជួយលើកដំកើងដំឡៃខ្មែរយើងឲ្យបានរុងរឿងជាថ្មីឡើងតាមសៅតា
and cultural partnership between institutions in Cambodia, France, and here in the United States. It is an extraordinary honor for MIA to be the first and only U.S. venue to share all of these treasures with our visitors. But first, before I go any further about that, I want to extend our deepest thanks and our generous supporter, the Manitou Fund. We're so grateful for that help. Supporting sponsors of Christie's and Artful Living. We have additional support provided by Elizabeth Andrus and
The French School of Far Eastern Studies, the École Française d'Extrême-Orient, the FEO, as we say in French, and the C2RMF, which is the Center for Research for the French Museum. We call it the Louvre Laboratory, in a more common way to explain it, because it is hosted in one safe part of the Louvre Museum underneath the basement of the Louvre. Many of these exhibitions have taken into account the architectural design and the stone statuary that were erected inside these unique monuments. The idea was here to provide a more closer view, I should say, of this specific technology of bronze casting in Cambodia. So, welcome to the exhibition. You know, the purpose is to deal with the bronze techniques that were used and that are still used today, actually, in the long history of Cambodia's heritage. Actually, here in this first part of the exhibition, we deal with two major aspects. One is the origin of bronze. You know, for a long time, we would have said, well, there is no copper trace in Cambodia, because you know that bronze is an alloy made with copper and tin, with the possibility of addition of lead for a small proportion of it. And for a long time, it was thought that copper would come from abroad, let's say from nowadays Thailand or nowadays Laos. Actually from territories that were once part of the Cambodian community, let's say. But you know that the country today is smaller than what it was in the Angkorian period. Anyways, thanks to the COVID period and the 2 years the project took more, that were unexpected, of course, because of that dramatic period of COVID, collapse of everything. It was possible to find specific sites in the north of nowadays Cambodia, in the Clavier province, where a copper mine, an open sky mining system was found on spot, together with also a workshop of transforming the copper elements from their natural aspect to the aspect of lingots that would be sent to the Angkorian and Angkorian cities. And this mining that has been discovered by the French School of Far Eastern Studies, together with the Ministry of Fine Arts, is the most ancient and the best preserved mining system ever found inside Southeast Asia. So, in fact, for us, COVID was a chance before, because without these 2 more years, we would have said months. And in fact, we find objects that are here in that showcase in the middle that date back to the time when Cambodia was in connection with nowadays South China, North Vietnam, and also the rest of Southeast Asia. Actually, many of these objects, for instance, the drum, show connection, very deep connection with the Red River Delta, nowadays the area of Hanoi, in the north of Vietnam. So we are around the 5th century BC. So it's late Bronze Age, early Iron Age. And some of the objects, such as these strange urn actually here, which could have been used as sort of bell of a drum, as well as a water container for specific rituals that we know nothing about because we have no inscription remaining from the period, is more connected with southern objects. Objects of the same kind have been found in nowadays Thailand, Burma, and also Indonesia. Actually. So already in the 5th or the last centuries before Christian era, Khmer people were in contact with many other people. But it all changed, or it was enriched, should I say, during the beginning of the Christian era, in the first centuries, when Khmer people will become in contact with Indian merchants traveling along the seaside from India to South China in search of all kind of goods, and in their ships they brought with them their knowledge. First they brought the writing system that was already developed, the alphabetic writing system developed in India, and at the time Khmer people had no writing system, so they were very much interested in taking that. And with the writing system was also the Sanskrit arrival, the sacred language that was together in connection with Hinduism and Buddhism. And it was the moment when local elites of the Khmer period, what we call now the pre-Angkorian period, so the first centuries until the end of 8th centuries of this era, could develop good relationship with Indian monks, Indian Brahmins, and the elite of the society would be interested in worshipping Hinduism or Buddhism. And here we have several Buddhist sculptures here and Hindu sculpture over there from that early period, a time when also Khmer people will use new technology coming from India to provide bronze sculpture, namely the lost wax technique. And here in the back you have an interesting showcase providing you with the major, well, simplified but still very efficient and true, I would say, steps for lost wax technique when you want to design a bronze. All the statues, most of the statues that you see here in the exhibition were made following that specific technology. And in fact, the statues you see here, from the iron armature, the core, the wax model of the statue as it will be, the mold, and then the time when you pour the bronze that will replace the wax, and then break the mold to have a statue that has to be clean, polished, and everything. These statues were made by Mr. Itzopip, so it's not Itzopip. Be aware, it's not the same man, it's almost the same name, but he is a bronze maker working in Syria, actually, and he's well known in all the country because he often worked for the King of Cambodia, for the Royal Palace in Phnom Penh, and also for the Prime Minister, for the government. He provided, for instance, Siem Reap recently with large bronze statues just in front of the royal villa in the city of Siem Reap. So we could order these statues thanks to the help of the Society of the Friends of the Musée Guimet in France, who could help us finding a way to paint him in the way of some drawing made in 1936 of the temple, as it was a brick tower where, by chance, the treasury of several bronze objects was found during the cleaning process of the temples. And here, this 11th century statue, and all of them, and also this pair of feet were found during this work. And these feet helps us to understand two things. First, the quality of the bronze making of the pre-Angkorian period, because they are very large size. So it was a human figure. We here show on the screen what could have been the appearance of the statue, but when you look at the feet, you look at they almost look like Greek or Roman statuary, actually, with such a beautiful design. So yeah, this is an attempt that we did based on a sandstone sculpture from the National Museum of Cambodia to check what could have been the appearance of the statue in the 7th century. So already in the 7th century, Khmer people could provide temples with large bronze statues. And the second aspect that it shows to us is that we lack 98% of the statue. Why is that? Because bronze has always been considered as a very precious material. So over the centuries, whenever there was a fight, was it between Khmer kings at the time when the country was not unified, or with neighbors, bronze was looted and transformed into new statues. Actually. This is why actually today we have more statues of the late Angkorian period. Most of the objects in the exhibition date back to late 12th, early 13th century. Few objects of the pre-Angkorian period. We must mix together and with the help of firing, so it can be considered as a magic, powerful material. And this is why bronze casting all along the history of Cambodian heritage until today was in close connection with royalty, with the main important power in Cambodia. And here in that showcase, you have remains or examples of bronze casting.
So hard with this case, but we, with the mutual understanding, not really forcing, we don't want to do the legal framework, enforcing to get but
So more of
just-
an intrigue.
Absolutely, they just want to have a little manifestation, reasons, that we did and there's we just supply document to Cambodia. That is the principle that we would like to take part in to bring our object back. That's the reason. In other case, we also keep my auction as a reason today. No, last night. My minister just sent me about 30 objects.
Okay, at auction.
We need to clear. Yeah.
Which auction?
Yeah, auctions and also another 30 object that some museum in Europe that they would like to return. But we need to do the assessment. But the art is important for us because the assessment that we are doing only through the photograph.
Right.
You don't have the chance to see the object.
Right.
That's why it's hard to say. But at least we can give some first assessment that this should be authentic or should not be perfect. So that's still in our policy that my government would like to return to.
And so I know like some of the objects have been returned from like the maps. Are there like other like American museums that are still that you're like in talks with?
Frankly speaking, I really don't know because that's the top level.
Okay, I see.
But my duty is waiting for the return.
I see.
That is my obligation
Okay.
because there's a team who working on that.
Okay, and so you're now that we have to like do an assessment and maybe in partnership with
Yeah.
here. Are there other places that you also?
And that is, at the moment, no, not yet.
Lord Brahma, the creative god in Hinduism, who will pronounce with his four heads the four Vedas, the four texts in Hinduism, and it will create instantly the whole universe. So it's not only our world, but all the universe. And the reclining Vishnu was found in the middle of the West Lake, the Western Barai in Angkor, on that island.
Existing now.
Yes, but these are digital images,
Yes,
because
yes.
it's not in that condition
Yes.
anymore. And in fact, the statue was in the middle of the square island, which is actually a way to provide a depiction of that long-term meditation before the creation of the world made by Lord Vishnu. And you know, the temple is in restoration so far. We have found the remains of the pedestal. So this is why, made in sandstone, this is why we have designed the pedestal that way. But on that sandstone pedestal, you must imagine some bronze decoration showing the body of the Naga. And this is the present condition of the temple.
This is the present now.
This is the present condition, the end of the restoration that will finish at the end of next year. And President, with the support of President Macron, will go there next November 26th to inaugurate the temple. So in 1936, the statue and the fragments were found by the French School of Far Eastern Studies after Cambodian people told us that they had found something on the spot, and we worked with archaeologists, designers to provide the natural, original aspect of the statue when it was gilded, when it was enriched with a tiara, diadem, and we took samples from National Museum of Cambodia that has preserved some jewels, but also sandstone statues. We tried to provide the aspect of the genuine gilding that was made using mercury. This is why you can see brush appearance in the gilding, and also some color, a red color inlaid inside the lips and some part of the hands. This was made in connection with scientists working from the university in Bordeaux, who is a specialist in recreating 3D images, but based on a very strong scientific approach. I must tell you, we worked for more than 3 months.
Yeah.
Only it was a pure night
On this
because I was always saying no. You must do something because you know this detail is not fitting to the accurate aspect of what could have been the statue. And you see, for instance, the lips were painted with red cinnamon. So we know that because we found that on the other side.
And then you got the mustache. Is that how?
Yeah, this very morning was performed in the National Museum of Cambodia with dancing ladies as well, as you did this morning. So that whole display designed by the Mia here, a specific room for him. And we were so happy in the whole process of the renovation, restoration, to consider the possibility of refixing the remaining fragments of the statue. So you see, we have here the depiction of reclining Vishnu, dated back to the 11th century, probably second half of 11th century, when a king named Udayavityavarman, the second king of the name, will build a large temple in Angkor, Wat temple, and also the temple we have just seen in the middle of the West Barai. It would make sense because then the Barai waters would be considered as the early waters of the universe after Shiva has destroyed anything else. And Vishnu is appearing on the top of the Naga, who is the serpent, who is himself the water, actually the spirit of the water. And you must imagine his body turning around, 3 levels of the body of the serpent, and then his head rising up at the back of the head of Vishnu. Nothing was found from the Naga. We don't know why, actually. We only have the sandstone pedestal of the statue remaining with no decoration. So that means Khmer people added something outside. We assume probably copper or bronze sheets of decoration attached to the sandstone structure, and the Naga itself, no remaining. The Naga head maybe was designed on a wooden structure or something like that, because the truth is that during the archaeological campaign of 1936, nothing except what you see here and small fragments that could not be reattached to the body have been found. And we had very long discussions with Christophe, the director of National Museum of Cambodia, in the whole process of the restoration, considering what should we do. Because you know, in the Museum of Cambodia, in the National Museum, so far the statue was exhibited, only this part, only. And the rest was in storage for more than 70 years. So we removed that from the storage, we analyzed them, we scanned them, we restored them with our Cambodian colleagues being with us in France, doing all that together. And when we had the 3D image, we were considering what should we do? Is it possible to rebuild it? Because, of course, much is missing from the front part to the central part. And in fact, we could print a 3D model with two, one on this side. And so the Khmer authorities could select really clearly what to do. And it was a common understanding to try to provide this appearance of all the fragments together, which in fact helps us better understand the size of the statue, its importance, and also the position of the Vishnu, because when the bust was alone, you could think that maybe he was seated in a chair or whatever. But now you understand that he was completely reclining. And also another tricky aspect of the process was the mound making. How to have it floating, because he is a god. He is on the waters, but they are cosmic waters. So we didn't want it to be, put directly on the pedestal and to provide some aspect of absence of weight, I would say, because he is a deity meditating, and he's so poetic with beautiful aspect of the head and also the position of the eyes that provide this poetic appearance. And so the trick was to be able to design with a French man able to do that, working on French statuary for a very, very long time, to provide this specific design that can be forgotten, but at the same time have a strong role to play to provide security and standing of all. Actually, it's great to be able to turn around the statue and to decide here, or maybe it was not there, but maybe it was in the back, because we have big issues in the Mebon temple, which is depicted there on the label, because in the back of the remains of the pedestal of the statue, in the central part of the temple, we find a very strange, enigmatic, cylindrical structure, which is less than 1 meter in diameter, circular in shape, but cylindrical, which is about 6 meters high from the ground of the central part of the temple, and we don't know what it is. It doesn't exist in Cambodian architecture of the period. We don't see that anywhere. So far, we have only 2 options. Was it some kind of odd way to depict the linga of Shiva? A possibility, because we can find that in Hindu tradition. Second possibility, was it
Đây chia rụp សិល្បៈនាគនិងគ្រុឌធ្វើពីសំរឹទ្ធ នេះជារូប 3D ដែលគេបានដាក់បង្ហាញរូបភាពពេញ
In the
នៃ
11th century, in the heart of Angkor, a huge lake, a parade was created by the hands of man. A colossal reservoir sustaining the
នេះជារូបចម្លាក់ពិសេសដែលគេបានរចនាតាមថតជាទ្រង់ទ្រាយ
This
ពេញ
lake was an image of the cosmos. Its water symbolized the cosmic ocean. In its
នេះជា
center,
រូបពិត
on an island, a temple was erected, protected by 16 pavilions. It
ពិតជាអស្ចារ្យ
housed
ស្អាតណាស់ព្រះភ័ក្ត្រ
Vishnu reclining on a mountain, floating on the waters of nothingness, dreaming of
រូបនេះរូបដែលគេបាន
golden bronze
ជួសជុលនៅប្រទេសបារាំងតាំងពីព្រោះនៅបារាំងរយៈពេល3ខែឥឡូវគេយកមកដាក់តាំងពីព្រោះនៅសារមន្ទីរ Minneapolis Institute of Art នៅទីក្រុង Minneapolis រដ្ឋ Minnesota
Once resplendent, the statue of Vishnu sank into oblivion until 1936. The ruins then revealed a forgotten treasure, the bust of Vishnu, broken and torn under the grass. នេះជាសាលតាំងពីព្រោះវត្ថុសិល្បៈខ្មែរដែលបានយកមកដាក់តាំងពីព្រោះនៅសារមន្ទីរ Minneapolis Institute of Art ថ្ងៃនេះគឺជាថ្ងៃដែលបើកសម្ពោធការដាក់តាំងពីព្រោះវត្ថុសិល្បៈខ្មែរនៅទីក្រុង Minneapolis រដ្ឋ Minnesota
was the main capital not only almost Southeast Asia, but at the time the empire was very powerful and developed positions in nowadays Laos, nowadays Thailand, sometimes even until Burma, and also central and southern. And here we gather showing different aspects of Hinduism as it was worshipped by the king of Cambodia during the 10th to 13th centuries. And for instance, one new object that we can find, this is not new at all, it's elements and three, but a new design to display an important object is here this large statue of a Shiva image. It was found in the 1960s in a pond, Tapean, closed by a Buddhist monastery, only by chance, because of the level of the water changed. And what they in fact, we worked with our colleagues to check how we could display it, because in Cambodia they were displayed in the same showcase. And it was difficult to understand the design. And I must say, to tell you the truth, that when we made the same design in Guinea, the first time I said, oh my God, we made a mistake. It's much too large. Of course, it's not possible. But in fact, no, you see, it fits perfectly to the main figure.
ខាងនេះជាសារមន្ទីរផ្នែកអាស៊ីអាគ្នេយ៍ភាគច្រើនគឺដាក់តាំងវត្ថុសិល្បៈខ្មែរហើយខាងលើនោះជាសិល្បៈព្រះពុទ្ធបដិមាភូមិនេះជារូបព្រះនាងជ័យរាជាទេវីគេហៅថាមេដាបារមីតានេះជាតោនៅប្រាសាទនេះជារូប